Oh yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes, question?
Uh, After class, can I talk to you or no?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, young scholars. So today you see there's no downloadable file today. We're just going to go over some basic auto fit, wrap text, merge, and some string functions to prepare us for Wednesday. But before we do that, I wanted to go over the brownies homework, and I'm going to go ahead and upload this on Blackboard once class concludes so you guys can look through it. Another thing I decided on, I've taught this class for many, many years at many, many different colleges. And you guys in the earlier sections all seem to have been struggling with the first three homeworks. So I don't know if that's just because you're new to Excel, you haven't had access to Excel yet. A lot of people in the other class say that the help desk won't get back to them when they're having issues trying to log on and everything. So what I've decided to do, since there's 13 homeworks, I'm only going to count the top 10 towards your 40% of the homework grade. So that just means that, homework 4 and 5, you guys got to put in a little effort and buckle down, and then the rest of them we do together. So you should do well on. So, and homework 4, as you'll see on Wednesday, there's extra credit possibility on there as well. So you could get some 5 additional points there. So on the homework, the brownies, the ingredients was basically the same thing as we did in class. You were to multiply the number of your brownies times the new assumption. This time it's 10 ounces, not 30. And then whatever number you got, you scrolled down and checked into the new table and multiplied it by the cost per ounce. And I noticed this issue when I tried to copy the table directly from the instructions. It gave me a name error because it assumed these numbers were strings. So you had to type them in individually. So that's how I got those answers there. The labor, you literally had to do no changes other than the 2 assumptions here. The $15 an hour went to $12.50. So you simply changed the wage. And because the assumption said that you could make 1 brownie every 30 seconds, that means that you could make 2 brownies a minute and 120 brownies per hour. So you change that from 120 to, you change that from 60 rather to 120 to reflect how many brownies you could make in it. So the formula was exactly the same from what we did in class. You just had to change those 2 assumptions. With the ingredients, the last part might have changed in the formula depending on the quantity you got from the first 2 parts multiplied. Then you would multiply it by your cost per ounce. The equipment was a little easier than class. You got rid of the last 3 parts because there was only the oven and the mixer. So you had your new interest rate of 8.5% as the interest rate, the first number. You had the 13 remained from the number of payments, the second number, and then comma. The last two were the 17,000 for the oven and the 13,000 for the mixer. And since it was the same for all of them, you just used absolutes and auto filled across. So they should have all been 3,969 cents. Most of you had no issues with that part. Then the average, you simply averaged the totals for your four make costs to get that average. And then you averaged your four totals for your buy costs. And then the make or buy functions were the same as in class. You just compared your make total with your buy total. If make was greater, then you buy instead because you want the cheaper price. Otherwise, you make because you want the cheaper price. The buy costs here is where I think everybody was tripped up. So on the homework for the purchase price, it said that you're charged 25 cents for the first 10,000 brownies and then 21 cents for the brownies that are over 10,000. So that means it's not one or the other, it's technically both. So for the first purchase price for the 5,000, everybody got this right. It's simply the 5,000 times that 25 cents. Now that had its own formula. The other three had a different formula. So the first 10,000 was 25 cents. But then the rest are 21 cents. So you had to do 10,000 times 25 cents plus your total brownies minus 10,000, which would reflect anything over 10,000 times 21 cents. And then you autofill through to the other two. So some of you in these instances were like $400, $500 off. That's why. Now for the administration, it said that if your order produces less than 1,000, the bakery charges you 1,000. So in the in-class exercise, if it was over 1,000, it went back to 1,000. So all you had to do here was change the 7 cents to 3 cents and then flip this sign here. It was greater than for the in-class example. All you had to do was switch it to less than. Because in the in-class, the maximum was 1,000. If you went over 1,000, it went back down to 1,000. In this instance, if you're under 1,000, it bumps it up to 1,000. So the minimum payment was $1,000. And then for warehousing, you're charged 0.025 per brownie if it's less than 20,000 brownies, and 0.015 if it's over 20,000. So the formula was exactly the same from class. You just had to change your 12,000 to 20,000, your 25 cents to 0.025, and your 15 cents to 0.015. So because a lot of you left it as 25 cents and 21 cents, you ended up with $1,250, $3,750, and $7,500 for these costs. So you might have lost a point for not typing the assumptions incorrect. So are there any questions on that? Like I said, what I'm going to do, since so many are struggling with the first 3 assignments, is instead of counting all 13 for the homework grade, I'm just going to count your top 10 highest scores. Okay, so there's no questions on that. Like I said, I will put that up on a blackboard. It'll be right under the Excel homework 3 there in last week's folder. So today we're going to do auto fit wrap text merge tutorial and talk about a couple of the string functions that we are going to use on Wednesday and next week as well. So some of you might have seen like hashtag, hashtag, hashtag within a cell when you're doing these numbers. That just means that the numbers were too big to fit within the one cell. So this going down is called a column. So your A through your letters are columns, your numbers are rows in Excel. So there's 2 different ways you could change the size of a column if you saw those hashtags and the number was too big to fit. You could click the top of the column, scroll over so you have a little cross, and then drag it over, and you'll see that little width screen right above it. It changes. That makes your column bigger. The more common way of doing it is, say you have something typed in the cell here. You'll notice that this text spills into column K, right? So we click back into column J at the top, and we go into our cells pane here, which has insert, delete, and format. If we click the caret next to format, we have auto fit column width. And if we do that, it makes that cell and the entire column big enough to fit those words. You'll see there's also auto fit row height, but people don't really use that. I'll show you momentarily that wrap text is what's used instead. So when we select auto fit column width, our column now expands to include the text all in that one cell. So now if I were to click into another cell, and type homework number 3 was very difficult. You see that it takes up column A, B, and C, spilling in all this info. But if we just want it all to be visible within column A, we do what is called wrap text. Now make sure that if you have any questions on this, you ask, because you're going to have to do this for your column headers on the midterm. So basically what happens with wrap text is it throws all the text underneath until it's all visible in that one cell, rather than spilling over in other columns. So you'll notice here in the alignment pane, this button with the A, B, and then the basically arrow pushing the C underneath the A. That's basically what wrap text is, and that's the wrap text button. So when you select that, You'll notice here, homework number 3, then it throws was very difficult underneath it. This way, everything is visible within that one column. It's not spilling over into other columns. So for example, on the homework, or on the midterm rather, you might have a column header that says actors payment. You click the wrap text to get it onto a or all in one spot. But all I have to do is click on the cell and press the over button to see that that is highlighted for all of the specifics to determine whether or not you did in fact wrap the text. So next we're going to do merge. So if I type in a cell, Yankees rule, you see again here that it spills over into another column. So what we can do, instead of making the column bigger or wrapping the text, we can do what is called merge. So let's say I highlight that cell and the 2 cells below it. The button below wrap text is what's called merge and center. If you click the button itself, it just merges and centers, puts it down the bottom. If you click the caret, there are other options. Merge across, which pretty much looks the same, except your text will be up at the top instead of at the bottom of this. And merge cells looks exactly the same. Unmerged cells will undo the merging of the cells. So if I click on merge, it makes them 4 different cells now. Merge and center, okay, it's back there. So within the rest of the alignment pane, you have your decrease indent and increase indent, which isn't used too much in Excel. You'll probably see that more in Microsoft Word. However, you notice no matter what cell you click into, this bottom align button is highlighted because that is by default. What that means is all your text starts at the bottom. It sits at the bottom. I don't know if you can notice it within these cells, but the text starts really close to the bottom of the cell, whereas there's some space towards the top and a little bit towards the left and right. You could change that default to middle align, which will put the text right smack dab in the middle, or top align, which moves the top of the text to the top instead of the bottom. But the alignments that you guys are more commonly familiar with, I'm sure, is align left, which starts the text at the left-hand side, which is usually the default. Center, which just centers your text. And right, which pushes it all the way to the right. And I showed you examples of those 3 during the VLOOKUP exercise, as well as concatenate left, right, and mid, which when we go through this inventory and strings example here in class on Wednesday, we'll go through those functions again. But there's 3 other basically text string functions that I want to show you guys. So if you go to formulas and select text, there's this formula len. So if you select len, then select cell A3 as an example, wherever you have text or characters or strings inside, you click OK, it spits out 24. That means that this string has 24 characters in it. That is its length. You may have seen in Java programming that you can do string.length to determine how long a string is. This is how you would do so in Excel. So if we were to do it again, len, and this time select Yankees rule, it gives us 12 characters. So you'll see, interesting. Well, Yankees is 7 letters and rule is 4 letters. How come it gave us 12? It includes the space, that character in between. So keep that in mind, especially when we do the mid function. And I'll show you guys that, like I said, again on Wednesday. So another function within text is find. We want to find certain text. So if I want to find the text homework, HW, you'll notice I didn't put the quotes because when we use the function argument box here, when I click in the next panel, it automatically puts the quotes. So if I want to look into A3 within text and start the first string, so start number 1, it should give me one instance where the word homework is. And I click OK, and that's exactly what it gave me. Another example I could do there, I can find the word scholars within the text here, J1, and start at number 1. It gave me 7. How come? That's where scholar starts. 7. The other one I want to teach you, and this didn't work in the other class, so let's see if it might work here, is called replace. So we want to replace, let's say, Yankees with start number 1 and 7 characters for Yankees. And let's say we want to replace it with Knicks. We click OK, and it just gives us the word Knicks, which is not what we want. The function should replace the word Yankees with the word Knicks. So what we do is we go back to the Home tab, and here in the Editing panel, we see Find and Select. And you could use this instead of using the Find and Replace functions. So first we can do Find, and we'll do, let's say, Find Yankees. And it highlights that cell that says Yankees. Then if we click the Replace tab, it says Find what? Yankees. So we're going to say replace with Knicks. And if you select Replace All, it says all done. We made 2 replacements. So you click OK. And you ask yourself, how come it made 2 replacements? We only had the words Yankees here, which now says Knicks rule instead of Yankees. Well, that's not entirely the case. We did have two instances. We had Yankees within our replace formula here in cell F11. So you notice Yankees was replaced in the formula with Knicks. So keep that in mind going forward. So on Wednesday, we are going to go through this inventory and strings in class example. So you're going to be given multiple worksheets here that we're going to go through. But this inventory strings one is the one where we're primarily going to focus on left, right, and mid functions. So to get our division description, we're going to have to use the left function to take out the first three parameters. Then for our product number, we're going to have to use the mid function to get the 875, those middle numbers there. And then for the color description, we're going to have to use the right function to get the last pieces. And you'll notice here we have, well, I'll go through it. Basically, we're going to say that BAK is bakery for division description. CAN is canned goods, etc. So we're going to use those functions as nested functions. And then for full description, we're going to use concatenate to add them all together. And then in the in-class example here, we're going to do the same with an NFL thing. And then you'll notice here on the end, how many games did Tampa Bay win? I'm going to teach you how to use what's called the count if formula, which basically counts if there is a certain amount of something. Whereas on the homework 4, you're going to be asked to do this same thing for baseball. And you're going to be asked, how many games did the Yankees win for extra credit? You'll use that count if formula. You get it correct, you get 5 extra points on the homework. So you can technically get 55 out of 50 on that homework. So we went through that quite a bit quicker than the other class. So like I said, I will post the Brownie solution in last week's folder. Like I said, I'm going to only score the top 10 homework grades instead of all 13 of them. I have to double check to see how I can do that on Blackboard officially. But behind the scenes, that's how I'll do it. So are there any questions?
No, I just want to talk to you after class.
Okay. All right. So if there are no questions, I will see everybody on Wednesday. Let me stop recording. See you.